action.
It's 5:02. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
With that, this meeting is now called to order. We'll adopt the agenda. Do we have a motion to do so?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll restate the agenda items. We'll have public input on non-agenda items, consent agenda with 2 items listed on minutes and checks. The chief's report, unfinished business. We'll do an update on progress on Station 31 and admin for construction. Also, item 2 is the imposed merger for the fire district, which is now recently changed, so we'll discuss that in detail. Item C, board policies, which we've all had the chance to look at and provide feedback for. We'll go into new business, which the only item we have listed is the 2024 meeting schedule. We'll discuss that and approve the tentative schedule for next year. Fire chief's remarks, commissioner's remarks, and then we will adjourn. Any changes to the schedule as stated?
None.
All right, consent agenda, item 6. We've all had a chance to look at it. Do we have a motion to approve consent agenda items?
So moved.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Chief's report.
Thank you, sir. So good evening, Commissioner and the community watching us online. So quite a bit's happened since our last meeting. Our last meeting, if you remember, our last night meeting was the day before the remembrance, the anniversary of Hurricane Ian. That next day, we had the ability to join the community down Times Square and, you know, hear from folks who their stories of recovery and resilience, you know, mixed in with rightfully somber times for those that lost their lives. So it's good to take time to remember those folks and also share with everybody their stories of recovery. Our own recovery is progressing well. Our buildings are getting put back together slowly but surely. Station 32, we were able to get all the doors on the lower level replaced. 33 had one door that had to be replaced. Over on headquarters, if you've been by there, you see a lot of the exterior work is getting done. The structural elements have been taken care of, and once the weather clears up, we're going to get the painting completed, and the roofer is waiting to put the roof on. So things are progressing there. We were pleased with the state's announcement on September 29th that they'd be assisting the district and the community in getting the fire station rebuilt. The state's allocated through a grant $9 million to help us reconstruct the fire station, and then another $5 million to help us with the revenue that was lost to the change in valuations of the property. You know, with that assistance, the timeline for construction can be accelerated. It's given us the opportunity to possibly not work with the fire station part with FEMA, which will put us on an accelerated timeline. We've already reached out and are working with our architect and engineer to get design underway, trying to get moving as quick as we can. We are going to continue working with FEMA on the public space portion of the fire station. So that's the meeting room and the areas on the front of the building. And with FEMA's assistance, whatever comes from that will be allocated towards the administrative building when we start that project. So on October 6th, as you know, I was notified by Representative Botana about that he would be attempting an imposed merger on the districts. As we all know, in October, that kind of played out with a bill that was presented, but the local delegation chose not to hear. As you know, and it's one of our items for later on, that bill has come up again in a different fashion, so we'll talk about that more when we get to that item. On a lighter note, it was a pleasure to be involved with the restoration and grand opening of the Little League fields at Bay Oaks. The same crew that came out and helped sod the fields is here tonight, so we'll recognize them again. And we also joined on the grand opening, and also our folks were out on Fright Night, as we do every year, and participating in that. It was good to see the kids out there in their costumes and enjoying some festivities. Finally, I want to finish up my report by highlighting the troops who continue to train and develop themselves, specifically in urban search and rescue. We have Firefighter Hermes here tonight, and I'll hit on that a little bit more in the ops section. You know, the urban search and rescue type calls are some of the most dangerous that our folks can go on. So dedicating themselves to training and responding to those types of calls really is kind of a higher level calling, so we appreciate them for that. Moving over into administration, as in years past, we received the $5,000 matching grant from our workers' comp carrier. And like in years past, that's used for buying new equipment, safety equipment, PPE. So we'll be putting that money to good use and appreciate that support. And then over the last few months, we've also been working, Jane's been working with FEMA to process our claims for Hurricane Idalia. Fairly straightforward, and it seems like that process will move through pretty quickly. Jane's had some preliminary meetings with the folks from FEMA, and I think things are pretty much in order. Going to move quick. So in operations for the months of September and October, our greatest demand for services, as usual, was concentrated around EMS calls. One of the things that's interesting over the last few months is that our EMS calls represent nearly 50%. Typically, if you remember our reports, that EMS number is usually higher. The reason it's only 50% is because, as we expected after the hurricane, we're seeing more hazards and rescue type calls, stuck elevators, fire alarms, electrical hazards, and things like that. So they're actually making up a bigger portion of our responses than what is typical when we're not in this post-storm environment.
Chief, how long do you think that will last?
The way things are moving, I think I think we're going to continue to see electrical issues playing out, from underground vaults to, people's houses who might not have replaced all their wiring. I think we're going to uncover these electrical type issues for a while. With all the construction going on out here, people working on roofs, there's just a lot of potential. So I think for the next 3 to 5 years, we're probably going to see a higher percentage of those type calls than what we're used to during normal times.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So again, I'm going to go back to the USAR. In October, we had 3 members. Firefighter Hermes Laser, who's here in the room with us, Keith Gaudet, and Jesse Miranda were the 3 who participated in technical rescue training. This time around, they participated in trench rescue. So if you can remember when the boulevard was being constructed and they had pits along the side of the road, you get somebody down in there and you get a collapse or a partial collapse. That has to be shored up and dug out. It takes a lot of technical expertise and equipment. So it takes a long time to train up. There's basically 5 overarching disciplines in the urban search and rescue world. High angle rescue, where you're going down ropes on the side of building to get people. The trench rescue, structural collapse, and others. Confined space, like going through tunnels and tubes and stuff like that. So a lot of technical training involved.
I applaud you.
Yes.
Yeah. The other thing that came up that we put on for operations is the federal government has updated all of the incident management courses, and these are National Incident Management 1, 2, 7, and 8. They've updated those, which means our folks all have to go through and update them as well, and update our knowledge base, and that plays a critical part in our ability to get reimbursed at the federal level. So without those trainings in place, it can jeopardize us getting reimbursements. Our district's driver engineers, one of the trainings this month was ladder access. So, and this training kind of tied in with the fact that we're building a new fire engine and the fact that the new homes being built, as you know, are being built to higher levels. So when we started working on the engine, that created some conversations about if the extension ladder we have and the straight ladders we have are the right sizes. So the training for this month was for the folks to go out and put ladders up against buildings that were under construction and see if our normal 24-foot ladder will reach a third floor window or get us over a third floor railing, or do we need to go to the next size up? So our folks were out in the community. They were working with homeowners and builders and getting permission and throwing ladders to different structures around the community. So. As far as our delivery highlights, our times are within normal compliance. In the report, you'll see that there are benchmarks, and you'll see our response times. We're averaging 50 seconds getting out the door, responding to our high acuity calls. Turnout times on average across all calls are running about 1.5 minutes. And then our response times for all types of calls are running about 6 minutes and 25 seconds. Additional training for the last few months focused on Mayday operations on the fire ground and firefighter survival. So if somebody gets into a precarious situation, they can't get out on their own, they call Mayday, and how do they survive until we can get to them and rescue them and get them out. Sometimes the rescuer becomes the rescued. So on the medical side, we did cardiac training, we did stroke care. Chief Armiger himself did some training the last couple months. He went up to Pensacola and did a 50-hour, basically a battalion chief boot camp, which is a series of programs. And to follow up on that, I was meeting with him this evening. He's going to be putting something out for company officers to go up in January and seeing who will participate in that. But we're going to send some of our folks back to Pensacola. This is a good series that's done by a very reputable nationwide training person. And we're going to try and get some of our company officers up there to experience that come January. And then last, we had our medical director, Dr. Pereira, was in district providing hands-on and in-person medical training to our members. That training focused on our medical guidelines, which recently changed and have been updated. So our folks were getting read in and up to speed on those changes and getting ready for our new protocols that went into place. Some things that were completed in operations, our Blue Card training program, that roster has been built. The train the trainer course has been booked, and it will be here in district on February 5th through 9th. I believe it's set up here at Diamond Head that we'll have an in-person training. And that's incident management training. That's part of the grant that we received recently. We've got some of our firefighters, we've gotten them access to the lieutenant task book, so they're starting to work on their company officer skills and getting themselves ready to perform in that position. And then we posted for an acting driver engineer center. So we got some folks, a couple folks who'll be testing pretty soon and be able to fill in driver as needed. So in life safety, fire prevention, the life safety branch remains busy. They're reviewing and processing plans and permits. I want to thank Jen and her staff for staying on top of that. They're getting an influx, and actually I don't want to jinx you, but she's getting a little ahead of schedule. So I think we're getting things turned out a little faster than our standing schedule. So thank you to Jen and her team. Some of the other things in life safety is that we're starting to see some development orders. We have seen preliminary development order for the Neptune, the Whale, and then various 7-Eleven locations. So things are happening. They're in the hopper, and it'll be coming. A lot of work that happens behind the scenes before something actually comes out of the ground.
Right.
So. And then the other thing is we've received the preliminary information for New Year's Eve fireworks. So We're happy with the firm that the town has secured. Jen has a long history of working with them over at the city, and they're a very good firm, so we don't expect any issues, but we'll be prepared and we'll be there regardless. So, one difference with the fireworks this year is because of the situation with the pier, they'll actually be launched from a barge. So they'll be loading in the back bay and making the trip out to the Gulf.
So Chief, do we have any purview on that, since it'll all be waterborne? Is there anything our department does other than just monitoring from shore?
Yes, so do you want to give a little bit?
So I actually have to meet with the fire defender to take a look at the barge that we're proposing to use, because he hasn't looked at it yet. So we have to approve that. We have to get Coast Guard notification, the FAA notification has to come to us. We take a look at the shocks, the size of the shells, to make sure that the diameter, the distance that we have for the fallout zone is there. They have to secure LCSO and then the other marine units to make sure that they maintain that, and that's on them to secure that. So we work with them on getting all that. We look at the tubes as they load them to make sure that they have a shooter shack on board. It's different but the same kind of.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, good.
So we'll be there when they load. If they have any misfires, we'll be there when they unload and make
Okay.
sure they secure all that. And then it is going to be a little bit different, like the boat races, we're going to have to secure a perimeter out in the water.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, I was asked the question, so I think that's great information,
Yeah.
that we're still actively involved in monitoring it, and I think that'll make the community feel good,
Yep.
so.
thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
And, yeah, think through there. And then the last thing, if I can, is just hit on some October anniversaries. Battalion Chief Tom Grove, 31 years of service, long time. Captain DeVito is 17 years. Driver engineer William Galuski, Billy Galuski with 15 years. Lieutenant Brad Hartman, 15 years. And driver engineer Willie Edge, 15 years. Willie's in the back. Thank you
Wow.
for your service. So that's my report.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's what I got. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Any questions regarding Chief's report? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item, unfinished business. Update on progress for Station 31 and admin.
Yes, so last meeting, it was brought up about, can we look at putting the fire station on the front of the property versus the back? So since that meeting, we reached out to our appraiser and had them take our property and evaluate the front half, I'll call it the front half, or the west half, north half.
North half, south half.
Right.
South
So
and
basically the Estero frontage versus placing the fire station on the backside. So the appraiser did split the property up and put values on both pieces. You have that appraisal in your package. There's approximately a $700,000 difference in the appraised values between the front and back. So I think there would be a lot of benefit in putting it on the boulevard and, the idea, but it's ultimately for you guys to decide. So we can start with that if you want to
Sure.
talk about it, and then I'll pick up on the rest.
Joe?
Well, I for one I think it's a good idea to put it on the boulevard. It's going to make our presence more visible in the community, and I think it'll be better for the equipment as it's getting out onto Estero. It doesn't have to exit onto a side street and then make its way up and then go through an intersection. Like I see that every day down at Linnell, and they have to work that intersection. They have to do that task, and this would actually probably, I don't know if we'd end up with a fire signal there, much the way we have up, so that when they're getting ready to come out, we can stop the traffic on Estero and let them get out of there. I think that would be a benefit. It would increase the speed of response possibly, as well as, again, I think it's good business to have our image out there on the roadway where people can see, yes, we do have a fire department here.
Larry?
I would agree with what you just said, Jim. I thought the discrepancy between those two halves were going to be a lot more than that.
I did too.
I was expecting over $1 million, but $700,000 is still a lot of money. But given the assist that we've gotten from FEMA and some others, and the fact that the property has escalated so much at that time, I think it's comparable, and I would like to see it out in front too. I think there might be some issues with getting out onto the Estero during season, but that's going to happen even if you're in the back half. You're going to have similar issues. So I would support putting it on the front.
Jackie?
So I had gotten some community response on that, just kind of some casual conversation that it seemed to me that the folks in the community would like to see it up on the boulevard so that it's a part of the community and is visible. And I think it'd be better for the department as well. It's an opportunity to interact more with the community and the public. If they see a station, they're more apt to pop by and visit and come in and see what's going on. So that was kind of the response I had gotten. And I believe the firefighters would like to see it up front as well. Yeah, that's what I thought. So,
That's good.
so I would be all for that. I have no issue. Yeah.
Off the camera, but we got a thumbs up.
I think especially with the, the building's gonna be beautiful and it's gonna be new, and I think that'll also provide an uplift for the community in general. The more we can get buildings up and get things cleaned up and beautified, it just makes everybody feel better when you're going down the boulevard, so I'd be in favor.
Yeah, I agree with everybody else's comments. It's, I think the thing that at least we all grew up with was the firehouse on the boulevard.
Yep.
And seeing the folks sitting out front, either working on the trucks or checking the trucks or maybe washing them, or if it's a weekend holiday, maybe just watching the world go by and waving to folks that want to stop by and giving
It's
kids
important.
tours. And that level of public relations, it's really hard to put a price tag on. And I think we're within the value of making that acceptable. On another note, the chief and I did meet with the town shortly after our last meeting. Discussed, again, the property swap and why it was now off the table and how things had changed with us. At the end of the meeting, I mentioned the fact that if we were to discuss this in public forum and decide to go to the front boulevard, would they be interested in purchasing the remainder, our back half of the property where Tops used to be? There was a slightly positive response to that. That being said, I don't know what kind of financial position they're in to do so, but it would give us another option. And in that same meeting, it was expressed to us by the town reps that they had planned on limiting access to some of the roads to the back of the property. They want to extend the pool and part of Bay Oaks, and if that were to happen and we were rear located off the boulevard, it would turn us into a turnaround position instead of a drive-through position, which is not ideal for our folks, and it certainly increases the chance of bumping into something if you're having to spin a big rig around in a small space. So I'm for it as well. Any input from our folks who are most important to us?
Come up here, so
Thank you.
like I said before, I think that we're all looking forward to the station being out there and belonging to the community and being open to the community, like it would be facing on Estero. And I just want to reiterate before that we have this beautiful piece of property. We have the potential for developing everything that we need there on the property. And, recently we were in the district looking for alternative landing zones for our helicopter EMS operations. And the back of that property would be a beautiful 100 by 100 lit up, designated landing zone. So once again, I'll say that, I know it may not be possible, but we would like to see the entire Tops property, be used for the community fire station for the district.
Great. Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
Chief, do we want to put this to a vote, just so we have an official position on where to go? So I'd make a motion, after discussion, recommendation from everybody, that we proceed with placement of the fire station, Station 31 replacement on the frontage for Estero Boulevard, and continue with that construction.
I'd second that.
Discussion?
Just one thing.
Yes, sir.
Just to answer some of the points that were brought up. As far as the travel on the boulevard, I anticipate, if you can, down at Linnell, how we had the flashing signs for the walkways, something similar to that before Tropical Shores and on the other side of Gulf Beach. That will be controlled by the station, similar to the light at 32. Folks will hit the button, those lights will turn red, and traffic will have enough time to clear out while we're getting dressed and getting in the trucks. So I do anticipate signaling on the boulevard that will help us clear that area so we can get out. So, that's all. Thank you.
Further discussion?
None.
Been moved, seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay, carries 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll continue with that discussion, Chief.
Very good, thank you. So, as you know, we've been looking at doing two separate pieces, putting admin over on Main Street or in that area somewhere. We had our meeting with FEMA recently, and there was some questions about that public meeting space portion of the old fire station, if that was going to be considered critical infrastructure. So what we found out in that meeting, instead of being Class 4 critical infrastructure under the rules for floodplains, it's probably going to be Class 2 general business space, because it's not going to be a response fire station component. So with that, it opened up some options for us. One of the sites that we were looking at that is for sale is next to Key West Express. So that site is currently for sale. And so we drew up an offer, but it is a backup offer. It's about 1.75 acres. It gives us frontage on the bay, on the back bay. It comes with water rights, and we have to wait and see if the primary offer plays out there in their due diligence period. So probably they have till about the end of the year, to commit and go ahead with the sale. So we do have a backup offer in play, and we'll see what happens with that. But if we get that, that is in a coastal A, but we're going to build the building high enough into the same wind codes we would. So it will serve our purpose. It is an industrial area, so it will be more suitable to doing training and fuel systems and stuff like that. And it's very close to where we currently train. When we put down our hose lines, we do that over, we call it ball gas, but it's right in the same area. So we're familiar with going over there and training in those areas. So one of the things with the money that the state's provided us to do the fire station, and our insurance and the savings that we've done over the last 5 years, and then the last key piece to getting that second project done is going to be the proceeds from the rest of our property here on the island. So collectively, all of those revenue sources get us close to where we need to be to get both of these buildings done. So,
It would certainly be nice to have that water access available.
yes,
Still potential.
yes.
Well, I think community-wise, it's the answer for a training tower also for doing either generation of smoke or if we have live
Especially
fire
the smoke,
capabilities.
yes.
That's probably something that island residents would be opposed to with their new heights on their buildings and a nice cloud of
Blowing the smoke.
So the
obscuring their view. Go ahead.
the room for say, commission meetings, would it be at this facility then on San
Yes.
Carlos? So
Yes.
it would be close access for the people of the district to be able to attend commission meetings and interact with the commission.
Yes, sir.
Would it
Yep.
be a functional meeting space that the community could use as well, instead of being like a dais kind of setup that?
No, so, yeah, whatever meeting space we do, I anticipate it'll be to host these meetings. I definitely want it to be public space.
Okay,
And it will be modular. We'll be able to set it up as we need it. So nesting tables if we're building it as a classroom, if we're having, right now we're using this space, but if we're doing training, if we're bringing in outside experts, we set it up as a classroom.
Good.
If we're having these meetings, we set it up in this way. So
Yeah.
it will be very modular.
well, what I'd prefer to stay away from is something where we're sitting up above everybody, looking down on some kind of
Yeah.
crazy dais thing. I prefer this. I think it's better for the community,
Oh, I agree.
and yeah, we've been doing this, we're comfortable doing this, and then you can break it down and use the space in other ways. So that would be my preference.
I think it better reflects our view on our relationship with the community as well.
Exactly. We don't need to be staring down at
I
anybody.
don't like that at all.
Chief, would that also be a space for kind of carryover for housing for an emergency operations type?
It would
event?
be. So it'll have a generator, standby generator and everything, similar to the way our headquarters does now. It will probably have some ability, maybe Murphy beds or whatever, for some of the officers if we're working around the clock after the storm, like we did with the Dahlia or,
Right.
Ian. So, and then if you have a big meeting space, big open space, you can always throw down the cots or air mattresses or, similar to the way we did in shelter.
So reserve equipment also, or?
Yes. So that's one of the things that if it was going to be classified as critical infrastructure, as you know, with the old fire station, then I can't flood-proof down below base flood elevation. With it being Class 2 type building, I can do the wet flood proofing, breakaway walls and venting, similar to the way our fire station apparatus bays are now. They flooded, the water went back out, we cleaned them up and went back to work. So my intent would be, this facility has a couple garages, our reserve vehicles could be in there rather than being at the stations. This could kind of be a one-stop shop for our folks when they're coming to train, they're coming for a meeting room, pick up uniforms, cleaning supplies, changing out apparatus, getting fuel, and, we're all, intermingling that way, so.
Great. I like it.
What about in an emergency like we have had a couple of those this year? Being able to use that space for an EOC setup, has any thought been given to having that availability or that capability?
Again, so if we take a Cat 5 hit like we did, it took a little bit to clear out that road, but it took a little bit to clear out all the roads onto the island too. So getting back to it, basically what we're looking at is once access is there, it's elevated and we can get in the building, turn the power back on and get to work. So it will be resilient. It will be built to the same resiliency standards as the fire station. So, and the fire station in basic code is 180 mile an hour. We're taking it up over 200 at least. So
Well, let's hope we don't have to deal with
so
it.
we don't have to do it. But,
Perfect. Anything
Right.
further on the station projects and headquarters?
not too much. That's pretty much it for now.
Great. And you said we've already received some paperwork for our,
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
So just today, earlier today, we did get the paperwork from the state for the $14 million, and we have a lot of reading to do before we sign it, but make sure we're compliant, we can keep with timelines and everything. So, but we do have that paperwork now.
great.
You said our offer is sort of a backup offer to the primary offer on that
Yes.
piece of property. Do we have a backup for the backup offer?
There are other properties we're looking at.
Okay. That's what I
If
was-
it doesn't come
was
through.
asking.
So, but I think the other properties, some of them are close to the boulevard on San Carlos Boulevard, and would be more out in the open if we're doing the burning and stuff like that versus being in this industrial area. So
Right.
my hope is this works out. I
Yeah.
think it would be a very,
It seems like a very ideal
very ideal
location
site.
for us.
Yeah, the only downside being that it's coastal A, but like I said, we're going to elevate it and build it in a way that it will withstand those conditions.
Good. Okay.
Great.
So,
All right. Item B on unfinished business, the imposed merger of fire districts. Chief?
as you know, we had gone through the October 30th meeting on the merger. It had been pulled from the local delegation bill, meaning that they didn't vote on it, so it wasn't moving forward. The chair position changed on October 30th, and a new meeting has been put on the schedule for November 30th. Until today, earlier today, we did not know if there was going to be another merger bill presented, but we found out today that a new bill is being presented that affects us. So the new bill that we received today now incorporates, it brings Iona McGregor Fire District into the mix. So the bill is proposing to basically break up the Fort Myers Beach Fire District and assign the island to Bonita Springs and assign the mainland from Matanzas Bridge to Iona McGregor. So this bill does have a referendum. It does not have a study. It does not have a merger plan, which are all of the items that we objected to last time. There is still a Florida statute in play that explains how this is supposed to be done. And this bill doesn't get any closer. As a matter of fact, it kind of gets us further away because it includes breaking our district up into two pieces. So there's even more complications in this. I suspect, like the last time around, we'll see something polished up before the 20th, which is their deadline to turn stuff in. And from my perspective, I don't think our position changes. We originally looked at Florida statute and said there are procedures in place. But since that time, and in doing our research, what we do understand is that there's plenty of evidence from district mergers that have been done voluntarily that were supposed to equate to savings, and they actually ended up costing the taxpayers money. So our position to the delegation has been, and unless you tell me otherwise, remains that study what's already been done, find out why it didn't provide the savings that were cited, before you look at doing more of these types of mergers. The last thing I think our local delegation wants to do is unintentionally impose additional taxes on the taxpayers of Lee County. So we will continue with that position and talk with our local delegation between now and the 30th, and then on the 30th about this merger.
Discussion.
Does that include the mosquito control district, this new bill?
Not in the bill that's been written, the bill that we were provided today. So we were in the middle of the meeting this morning when the three chiefs from Bonita, Iona, and myself all got the phone call, and then it was sent to us all in an email. So that was the first we had heard of it. There's nothing referenced in there, but I wouldn't expect them to be combined. So I have no idea what will happen with mosquito control.
Jim?
I reviewed the bill, and I have to say, I have a very unfavorable view of this attempt to just evaporate us and cut us up into two pieces and give half to Bonita and half to Iona. It almost feels like a stab in the back based on where we've been and what we've been through. And I guess I have to ask it out loud. Are we broken? Do we need help? Do we need assistance from the state to get our act together?
I can't point to it. So in the data that we've been looking at, for example, you would think that.
Yes.
The way this was
A person looking at this would say, well, there must be something wrong down there.
right.
Hey, from where I'm sitting at this table, there is nothing wrong going on here. In fact, we're doing a great job here, and I don't get this at all.
Well, and the other thing is looking at the data, like you said, are we a district that needs help? Do we need saving? Are we insolvent? And none of those things are true. In fact, if you look, I pulled data for the last 2 years, and we are providing about 25% more service to Bonita than Bonita provides into our district. We are providing 7 times more runs into Iona-McGregor than Iona-McGregor is providing to us. So, you know, the other thing is I think people look at our district and they think, well, you know, they're beaten up and they're battered. But the reality of it is that we've been able to modify our operations, going from 3 stations to 2. We have very sufficient staffing to staff those 2 stations. Our folks are responding to calls quickly. We're covering our calls. We're continuing to help the other districts, as the data shows. And we have a plan in place. We have a solid plan in place to get the fire station built, people hired, people promoted. And when the calls come back to the district, because the people are back in our district, we'll be ready to respond to the additional calls when we get back to that pre-storm level. So there is no data point or specific point that has been pointed to. And I think that's a telling sign that our district is in any way in need of saving or dissolving. You know, we've got a team who's hitting on all cylinders. You know, we were talking today, And one of the things that was interesting is not only are we providing response services to our neighbors more than we're getting from them, but for the public that doesn't know, we're providing plan review services to 3 other fire departments, to Captiva, to San Carlos, and to South Trail. And doing it in a way that the feedback from the contractors, so there was a lot of conversation today from the chief at South Trail, who was getting a lot of feedback from contractors before this happened, that they get 20 different ways around the county of how they're supposed to submit their fire plans. And those same contractors, according to the South Trail chief, afterwards, he polled them and he said, how are things going? What's it look like? And he said there's not been one negative comment against our agency. They have some stability because they know in those districts, when the plans go in, the fees are the same across all 4 districts. The requirements are the same across 4 districts. And, a testament to our life safety folks that we've been able to provide those services. So it's never been pointed to that there's deficiencies in the operations of this organization, and I don't think they could.
I would agree. My experience is these folks out here are doing an absolutely great job.
Yes, they
They're
are.
capable, competent professionals, and they've been doing a great job for us. And this entire exercise seems to be, let's get rid of the Fort Myers Beach Fire District, and there's no reason for it. And no reason has been put forward for it. And I find it offensive, frankly. And all they're doing is taking away the citizens' input from this community. And this community has been through hell, and here we are. Let's step on them a little more. You can tell I'm a little unhappy about the whole situation. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Jen?
I couldn't echo it more. I think I said it very succinctly in the last meeting. Unfortunately, there is no reason to be doing what they're doing other than a desire at the state level somewhere to merge special districts, but that's across the board. Why just us? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and frankly, it feels like a target. And we may not know where that's coming from now, but it will come out at some point. And fiscally, this department is sound. We're conservative fiscally. We're strategic. We've planned. We've always planned, ever since I've been on this board. We care about the money that comes in from the taxpayers. We are some of those taxpayers. And we've been very, very careful on how we spend that money. And I think anybody just has to look back in our meetings and our minutes and our notes to see that plan has always been in place. So there's no financial reason to be doing this. Matter of fact, it would be detrimental, in my opinion, to merge us because it would be causing some bigger government. And it doesn't follow with the government light feel that we all talk about. And it certainly could cause some additional concerns with our firefighters as far as retirement plans and for upward movement within the ranks, et cetera. So I'm still appalled. And I think I made my position very clear. And I'm appalled that this has come back up again. I'm appalled it's come up in this manner. And I'm frankly very disappointed in the representative and his choice to continue this. And I'm disappointed that the representative has not taken the time to reach out to me. I'm not sure if he has reached out to any of you.
No.
No.
No, not a one. So I think I'm as equally as disturbed with it as you are, Jim, and I support your comments.
Guess I'll go last.
Okay. Well, obviously,
Larry didn't get to go
Yeah,
yet, though. Wait.
It's like we're all wound up.
Yeah, it's just,
Well, I think the two commissioners have spoken very succinctly about our position. This is ridiculous, and you said you don't understand the economic situation. I think we do understand the economic situation. Someone wants the money that we have paid, that the taxpayers have paid over the last few years to get ready for our new buildings, our, and to keep us fiscally sound. And now they see the pot and they say, someone's saying, wow, we need, we can use that money and use it for something else. I'm just ridiculous. Chief, if this, in the bill, is there any mention of a referendum? And what type of referendum would that be? Can we vote this down ourselves, given the size of the island compared to the other two?
So I haven't memorized it yet, by next meeting, but.
That's okay.
But yes, so it does include a referendum. It does not include a study. It does not include a merger plan. It calls for this to go on the general election ballot in November of 24, and then gives 90 days for it to be enacted, which is a ludicrous amount of time to try and do something like this. It does have a referendum of the 3 independent districts. But what I haven't picked up in the bill yet, and it may be in there, is does it need to be a majority of all 3 districts, or it fails? Does it need to be a majority collectively? So I don't have those answers.
My question would be, can the other two vote to take us? And if we vote to
There's-
say no,
There's 3 separate verbiages, and it looks like the intent is that Bonita residents would see a verbiage. It's in essence this very similar verbiage, but it's, target, does Bonita agree to do this thing? Does Fort Myers Beach agree to do this thing? And does Iona agree to do this thing? And I don't know if that means that just a simple majority or a majority of all 3. And if 2 get a majority, but the 3rd does,
Yeah.
I just don't know yet.
okay.
I didn't,
Some of
That's-
the
that's
inadequacies of the bill.
yeah, I read it
That's
and I didn't
disturbing.
see any indication that it would not be a collective vote. It
Yeah.
would be, all 3 entities would have a vote, but if you collectively add those votes together, it turns out Fort Myers Beach has a very small representation in
Exactly.
that
Sure.
voting district.
Sure.
I think the way the statute reads, at least from my understanding, on a proposed merger that's voluntary, is that it has to be a majority of each district involved, which would be 51 out of 100 from each district. That being said, with 3 districts, it actually complicates a little more, which could be favorable. And, our votership is going to be limited,
Yeah.
given the residential situation, people still rebuilding. I think, it's going to be up to us to really educate our constituents on where we stand.
And why.
Financially, and why, and what's going on. I reached out before our October 18th meeting on that Monday to the Bonita chair and asked them for their official position, if they would take one, and advised that we were going to take one that Wednesday. I did not hear back from him that week. Up until a week ago, I had not heard back from him. I sent another email with the same request, still polite but not as nice, and said it could be assumed that a lack of communication means that there's involvement from your board in the architecture and the reasoning behind getting this done. With that email, I received an immediate response saying that he had never seen an email, that he knew nothing about this, and how dare I basically accuse him of being involved in the process. And in addition, said that they would not take an official position as a board, that they would leave it up to the voter, which, make of it what you will, but to me, that message that, it's their desire to see this to go to the voter. When you look at our sound financial status, our future, our rebuilding, the tax base that's going to be created through the rebuild, that's a ripe target for somebody to think of easy, low-hanging fruit that, is going to provide for years to come. You were there when I spoke on the last meeting of the delegation, and it's so unplanned, it's insane. There's no data, there's no reason, there's no consideration for personnel, for their futures, for their retirements. We have folks, when we look at these anniversaries, I love seeing 15 years, multiple times, 17 years, 31 years, which I don't know about you guys, but 31 years in an organization does not happen any longer. It is unheard of, and I don't care if that's in the corporate environment or in the first responder world with police, fire, and EMS. I am aggravated by this coming back around. There seems to be some strategy by Mr. Botana on its timing for the people who are supporting our position, that they may or may not be able to make this meeting. So the majority and the vote changes with possibly some of our supporters not there acting in our behalf. It was brought up during the lead delegation meeting that, it's much like the military, it's kind of an insane approach to think of fire districts as military. But that being said, if you want to take that approach, we can do it. There is an Army, there's a Navy, a Marine Corps, and the Air Force. Won't forget them. Coast Guard is now Homeland Security, and they're also first responders / military right along with their brothers and sisters. But within all of those services, there are specialties. And within those specialties, there's special forces. And I consider a special district a special force. We are the whole entire community in Lee County and Collier and the state of Florida for that matter. Sure, they're all fire districts, but we're all special forces for our communities. We know the people, we know the infrastructure, we know the back alleys, we know the shortcuts to get somewhere. These people are highly trained and experienced after years of dedication to go in and get there the quickest with the best response possible. And to drag them into another organization that is ballooning in size for, again, all I can see is an asset grab. And in conversation, there's no other word for it. I have the fear that our district employees would become stepchildren. And whether it be for Iona or Bonita, it's criminal to put people in a position that have dedicated that many years to a community and to not have a plan that's even remotely talking about the expense, the benefit, the procedure on which it's to be done is insane. I mean, it's like buying a car without ever seeing it, test driving it, or knowing the name manufacturer, how old it is. I mean, you're just going to grab it. But, oh, by the way, it happens to have a badge on it that's worth a lot of money. I think that's what they're going for. I'll quit rambling, but that's... Yes, sir, go ahead.
I know I mentioned this before, but I've been through merging school districts before, and the small district, the one that gets absorbed, is the people there, the employees that were there are treated like second-class citizens for 20, 25 years, and they're all, oh, you're from that district, or you're from, oh, you were a firefighter on the beach. They laugh at you. And not just that, but they also see the people that live here, the residents, as, oh, you're on the beach. Yeah, well, we took you over. I know it's maybe a small thing, but that really makes you angry, and it makes it difficult for our firefighters to promote, because you're always seen as, oh, well, you worked on the beach, and as though that was again, second class, when actually our people are doing the transport and they aren't doing any transport. So my point is, we've got to make sure that the residents also understand that by being taken over, you're always seen as the weak people. Oh, you got taken over. Oh, yeah, must have been something wrong with you. No, that's not it. This is borderline. Well, I won't say that, but
It's a power play.
it's a power play. So, thank you.
The disturbing part with at least this latest, the way it's drafted, is it provides for zero representation for the beach community on either board. So we go from, as citizens and residents of the beach, from having a voice into participating in the process of how our services are delivered, to basically accepting whatever is taken our way. And in Chief DeWitt's email initially on his opposition, one of the key lines in there that still rubs me the wrong direction is his comment on he would like to see the millage gap raised to 3.75. We're currently at 3. It's sufficient. And in the coming years, that will be going down. I mean,
Yes.
it's part of our
More likely.
financial plan. as long as construction costs don't continue to double every year. And I really dread if that were to pass at 375 and being a resident without representation and seeing my tax bill at that level. I mean, we're already, as a district, one of the higher items on our bills every year. And I'm happy to pay it because I know what these folks do. And I know I'm happy when they show up if I need them. I think you guys, gals, have seen it. You don't truly appreciate a police officer, a firefighter, or a paramedic until you're the one in need or your loved one is in need. And then you think, that's worth every penny I pay on my taxes, and there's not one of us that feels any differently. So my official position has not changed. I think we continue the course, that's my feeling. Unless we have objection, that's our direction of the chief, to continue with opposition for the same reasons. The only thing that's truly changed is the referendum and taking it to the voters. And that being said, if the voters do decide that that's the direction they want to go, then that's the direction they'd like to go.
Well, this is all done without the input of the voters. There are no voters that brought this forward.
No.
We serve at the will of the people. We are here to serve them. That is our job. That's who put us here. And none of them were ever asked about this.
No.
And my understanding from Benita is that the citizens of Benita are not so interested in this either. That's what I'm hearing anecdotally. So, if that's the case and you're claiming that this is saving money for the good of the citizens, well, why weren't the citizens engaged? Why weren't they asked in the first place? All of the communities. That's crazy. So I asked the citizens of Fort Myers Beach to make sure they show up on November the 30th at 9 o'clock at FSW in the nursing building and stand up in their 2 or 3 minutes, whatever it is, and make your voice heard. Because once again, we're going to get pushed around. And unfortunately, the representative knows that we are at dwindled numbers right now. He knows that we do not have as many voters as we normally would have on this island because we've lost residents. And I think part of that all played into this too. So folks who are out there who have your vote, if you haven't registered, register, show up on the 30th. If you can't make it, send in a letter of support so we can submit those all together and let your voice be heard.
I believe the representative proposing this is also up for re-election next year. So
I think you're right.
make your voices heard, is all I would say.
Exactly.
The voters speak loudly, and that's been proven every time. Chief, do you need any scope of direction from us to continue to gather data or
I don't think so,
studies or anything at this point?
unless you feel so compelled.
I know what I'd like to do.
I think I have my direction.
I have a little compelling emotion going on.
Yeah, I'd like to see some information come out from the department, some marketing, if you will, with some educational information to the residents. I know there's a number of organizations on the island who would be happy to push that out for you.
And we'll also,
Intent to.
if this does pass the next step, I would say we'll probably discuss at our next meeting having a firm to advocate for us in Tallahassee, should this go to that level.
If I can finish this topic up?
Yes, please.
And I said it last meeting, I want to say it again. Our labor partners are currently in Tallahassee, and they're meeting with people, and they've been instrumental in helping us navigate this and getting the message out. So to Jennifer and, all the way to the folks at the state level, Henry at the county level here for 1826, everybody's working together, and appreciate all the help from all
Yes, thank you.
directions.
All right. Thank you.
Next item, board policies.
Board
The
policies.
ever-exciting annual review of the Board of Commissioners policy manual.
Do you want to take a break? So this one might be a long one?
No, we're not that long. are we?
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So last month, as you know, we brought forward the board policies for an annual review. You folks all gave me feedback, and I appreciate it. There really wasn't much change. It seems that things are working well. There was one change to substance, so I have it up on the board. And if you will, basically all it is referencing a new Florida statute. We're striking out a sentence about doing the annual training and bringing in some of the language out of the statute that puts a little more specificity into the annual training that you guys get. You'll see when we get to the meeting dates that we have a workshop scheduled, and we'll do the annual training during that time. So other than that, as I move through here, it's changing dates, it's changing anything that referenced department back to district, changing the logos and whatnot. But as far as substance goes, this is really the only piece. So if you have any questions on this, we can talk about it. Otherwise, we'll make the changes.
Discussions, questions?
No changes.
No question.
No changes.
None.
Okay?
Good to go, sir. Thank you.
We'll get it done.
All right, the ever-exciting policy manual is done for another year. New business, meeting schedule for 2024.
Yeah, so under that item, I believe you guys have the schedule in front of you. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the dates. I've received feedback on the one date, on November 27th. We have that on the day before Thanksgiving. So probably I'll work with Christina and Diamond Head and see if we can bump that up by a week if there's no objection, and hold it on the third Wednesday.
Yep.
You'll see the dates pretty much are on the fourth Wednesday of the month. We were doing it every 4 weeks, and trying to do it on that same Wednesday every month allows us to plan a little bit better. So we've also set it up so that we have 4 evening meetings. And rather than having morning workshops and evening board meetings, we'll conduct all of them as monthly board meetings, and so we can do whatever business we need to do.
Yeah, I think that streamlines and helps with overtime and planning and
Right.
our important hours from our district folks. Everybody good with the one proposed change, November week before instead of?
So that's November 20th, correct?
It will be November 20th, yes. And we'll just have to make sure that that time is available.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Okay.
Fine, sir, thank you.
Thank you.
Brings us to fire chief remarks.
Once again, I just want to thank all of our folks. I know that, we've been through, a lot in the last year. And, to have this thrown upon everybody, that instability, coming to work every day, continuing to go out there and run the calls, professional manner. Our folks in the community see you, appreciate you, and give us that feedback. So we'll get through this. If this organization is nothing, it's proven it's resilient. And, to all of our team, just thank you for all the work you're doing and keeping our heads up. So to the board, thank you for your leadership.
Thank you.
And I really don't have much more.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Commissioner Lezak, would you like to start?
No, I think, we're clicking along pretty good. Thank you for the professionalism that you continue to show day in and day out, to our staff in the office as well. It's been a little quiet, a little bit lately. It's kind of nice, even though we have more traffic. So definitely the snowbirds are back. We've got a number of ribbon cuttings happening, which is exciting. The restaurant's coming on board, Tuna Skin Saturday morning. We actually have a chart of them at the chamber right now, so we keep track of who's ribbon cutting when, so that's really great. And it's just nice to see everybody out and about in the community. So thank you, and thank you guys for the good discussion tonight.
Thank you. Commissioner Wood?
Well, other than what we've already said tonight, and Jackie's just added some, I just had one thought. It seems like Dr. Pereira seems to be, every month she's on the island and doing training with our folks. Is that common? Doesn't seem like that happened in the past.
It didn't happen in the past. Dr. Lemons, before Dr. Pereira, did come out. He did visit and do ride time and stuff like that. But she's definitely, her being out here as much as she has is a different level of service than we've had in the past. The feedback that I've received is that the conversations, the access, that the interactions have been positive.
So she stepped way up just
Yes.
by reading that. So
Yeah.
please thank her for us.
I will. Yes, I will.
Thank you.
Jim?
Yes, I wanted to take a moment to just sort of almost apologize to our staff that they have to go through what we're going to have to go through again on this subject matter and the instability and the cloud that it might put over your head. I think you deserve so much more, and I regret that you have to go through that. That being said, I want to tell you we'll do everything we can, or at least I can speak for myself. I think I can speak for the others to provide stability for our employee staff and to provide service to our community and stability to our community. You know, we've been through a lot. We can get through this. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. And last, it's always hard being
Yeah,
last.
it's
Larry
tough.
said this
I
a
know,
long time
right?
ago, and I
Yeah.
never believed him. Thank you for everybody coming out tonight and putting up with our gobbling up here. It's, you know, we're dedicated to our home and our community. You folks are as well. It really, it's the sense of pride that I have knowing that you're at the firehouse on your shift, taking care of anybody and everybody who's in need of help is comforting. And again, that tax bill item is not a hesitation on my part. You know, I don't complain about it ever. It really is money well spent. Thanksgiving's coming up. Please have a safe Thanksgiving week if you're
Yeah,
on shift or off
probably.
shift. I promise I won't be frying a turkey this year, so I believe I'll be
So we're all
smoking one
safe.
instead.
You're safe then.
They might get called to
Yeah,
that.
right, yeah, possibly. And I hope that for our community as well. You know, it's been a long, hard year. We're on the recovery path. We each have our struggles with everything that everybody does with our homes and with insurance and our day-to-day lives. And, you know, it's easy to get wrapped up in those things and forget the big picture. And that's to be thankful for what we have and for the year we have ahead of us. This is a strong organization financially and in spirit. And the folks in admin to the folks on the floor and everybody in between, we've got your back. We will do everything possible to keep this organization whole. And if the voters do decide, we will ensure that there are guarantees in some type of plan that we present to protect everything you've worked hard for. So that really is my heartfelt promise. So,
100%.
that being said, if there's nothing else,